like I'm AI generated. I have no way to tell if I am or not. There's my squirrel coming from the right. I don't know if I'm AI. What if you're in a different universe and this is all AI generated and my little bit of consciousness in the back just thinks it's not and it's along for the journey just like you are? What if my life is just an inescapable cutscene? So I told y'all that we were getting through the cops, cunts, creeps, crows, crackheads of the Wild East. I told y'all 2024 and 2025 would be cowboys and Indians. It would be the Wild East. It would be the native teaching. So if you have native blood, that's going to get enhanced, and your story is going to revolve around that. But each year's different. 2020 and 2020, 2019 through 2021 was African. It was gospel music. It was BLM. 2021 to 2023, 2022, that was knights. I don't know if you realize that, but that was traditional masculinity. That was the knights, the medieval times. That was the building of a big castle. 2023 was knights through tropics. And it could be the conquest. It could have been conquistadors. And then we moved through 2024 and 2025, which was cowboys and Indians, the Wild East, the country stuff, the pilgrims coming in, and now we're moving into Norse. We're moving into the castles out in the far east of Europe. We're moving into like Latveria, Doctor Doom, from Eddington. You know what I'm saying? We're moving into that type of territory. So, I have the headdress. I met my bear. I have the buck head. I lived through the Wild East. And things are changing pretty quickly. So the thing is like we found Kai Cenat in 2022, 23. We found him in 2020. And then he went until 2022. Then we had Andrew Tate and Tristan, which is like the medieval knights mixed with they were like, we're from the projects of Luton. We're from Luton. But also like looting, we're leaving that looting of the riots and everything. Past Andrew Tate, we had Aiden Ross, which is like the Roman Empire, and then we had the Central Sea, which is still bringing that. We had Pink Pantheress, that's still bringing that energy. But then through Kill Tony, when Kill Tony popped off, that's how we moved into country. Then through Kill Tony, we had Casey Rocket. Casey Rocket took us to Cat Williams, Kurt Kaz, and then we had Zach Bryan and Casey Musgraves. Casey and Bryan, I Remember Everything, which is before that, my favorite song was Memories by Jon Bellion, and then it became I Remember Everything. We have my sirens back again. They keep showing up, but if you notice, the birds are here. On my other side, on my right side are the birds, on the left side of these sirens. So we're moving from the country into tribal again. The social media algorithms have all started pumping that the Vikings were also in America during Native American times, and that's why you have light-skinned natives. So we're slowly moving me into the realization that my native ancestry and my mom's last name being a Viking last name, and also we had that traveling guy with the Ninja Turtle story that got that Ninja Turtle coat, and we caught a fish that sacrificed itself for us to save the other fish. And then it was revealed he had a Scandinavian name, which he didn't like, that his name was Scandinavian, even though he thought he was full-blooded native. We're slowly getting into the realization that the red-haired giants were the descendants of Irish sex slaves that were Viking and were traveling through here, leaving Ireland, getting together on boats, mutinying pirates, getting together with groups of Vikings, and all of them would come to America for a long time ago, way before Columbus. So that's where we're headed. And also during that time period, we had the vampires out in the far east of Europe. We had like Doctor Doom, Czechoslovakia, Romania. So Andrew Tate's gonna come back, obviously, unless he decided to leave Romania, and that's gonna be a big story. Is like Romania's coming to here. We already have Zach Bryan moved up here. Jay Schlatt moved up here. They're in the area. Where I'm at in the center of this state, famous people come through all the time. And the biggest famous people to ever come out of this state live within 10 miles of me. And I'm in the exact center. So I wish I had $60,000 to buy this property, but maybe God has other plans. Either way, seeing that bear invigorated me in a way. Like, I had dreams for a long time that I didn't want to acknowledge, because I'm like, I don't want to admit that I probably have Norse in me. I like being Irish. And I like being native, but I'm gonna have to realize that it's not a coincidence that people come up to me a lot and talk about their Norse stuff. And then I fought Vincent in the woods, and he came at me with a hatchet, and I had to defeat Vincent. Oh, robot crows? Flying left to right. Is that Odin? Morrigan? Dexter Morgan taught me about the Irish goddess Morrigan, and now the crows don't really bother me that much. When they used to torment me every day until I remembered that Dexter was my favorite show as a child, and I remembered my dark passenger inside. And then when I remembered my dark passenger, the crows no longer bother me. But they were warning me of something, because we had the police sirens, and I told you the crows were coming, and now we had 5 crows go right above my head. And then they only cawed until they were right above me. Basically, I was talking about how I've been having dreams where I was a Viking berserker in a past life. And here's another thing, left to right. They keep going left to right. Maybe I'm not. Every time I try to mention Viking berserker, we get left to right. So maybe it's wrong. I don't know, but I always was drawn to bears. And I used to design, like, when I was little, I used to design this bear armor that I wanted to wear. When I was 5 and people were talking about, I want to be an astronaut, I want to be the president, I was like, I want to wear this bear fur rug on my body, and I want to sleep in it like a den at night. And I want to adventure through the world. And then I want to live in a penthouse in a skyscraper in a big city. That's what I wanted to do. I didn't really want to, like, save the world. I didn't want to, like, build this system. But I always thought that I would get to this position where I would be elevated and sort of floating above a huge place. And there was just something with the way that I created. Like, it was never about making something to change the world. It was always like me turning around, and I have this giant office, and then on the wall I would see as a kid paintings and album covers and different artworks that I created. It would be like my trophy. I would be sitting in my trophy room overlooking the world. And then I'd look out the window, and I would see this giant sort of black hole with rings around it like Saturn. And all in the rings, instead of imagining like trash and debris in the rings, that was me. All those little moments, all the perfect moments of my life, of everything that I've ever done in tons of different lifetimes, was outside of my giant floating skyscraper in the cosmos, with all like my favorite accomplishments, the things that I've created in the universe, on the walls of my like marble penthouse. Outside was this big black hole full of my memories. And it wasn't a black hole, it was just a big black sun. and the black sun orbiting it was all the different lifetimes I've had, all the different memories and moments that I could just pick from, like my Legos, because I grew up building Legos. What up? Is that a fucking woman? What the hell? Koval. 2926, that's 11 plus 8, which is 20, which is the secret 11. And it's on an 11 day, the 29th. I'm raising my vibration and asking for confirmation, and then I get a squirrel on my right side, and all the birds move to my right side. But then I had a bunch of crows and cops. Big siren energy, big crows on my left side. So I have all the good stuff and the bad stuff today, which is kind of weird, but today's about balance. So maybe they're just helping channel my energies through my vessel correctly. But I'm just hanging out. I was just gonna hang out for 20 minutes. Just chilling. This place was supposed to be my sanctuary. I did these were all just 2 years of leaves. 2 years ago when I got here, I spent the whole month of April all the way into June. Every day I woke up and I would just rake, and I raked this entire space, like probably 3 or 4 acres of land. And the plan was get up there, find a under the table job, find a camper, find an like a ATV to drag the camper, or like a beater truck to get through the forest. Bring these things and start to bring tons of RVs here, and I was just gonna pluck people out of their lives and say, like, stop. I know you're not creatively where you want to be because you're trapped at work. I'm gonna take you from that. You no longer have to pay rent, and you can focus on creation. And then at the end of the journey, I'm like, I didn't want to hang out with them at all. I miss them, and I'd love to create with them, but I feel like they did me wrong, and they can't acknowledge that they did me wrong. They left me to die, and they only came back when I was winning to see me lose. And then any minor inconvenience that happened to me, they would take as that's a loss, and it was all for their ego. And then all coincidentally, every time a storm comes, every single place that I decided I wanted to put an RV last year, so where I would have been building these shacks for people, trees have collapsed right on those spots, and it would have killed them. But maybe on a positive note, the trees are clearing the area. I just don't get it. How come Vermont has no 200-year-old trees? The entire state, everywhere I've gone, except for right here. This is the only place where I've found trees that are this big. Look, there's no other trees like this. And this is a sugaring house, but I don't see any maple. I don't know how else to tell you that everybody's trapped in a demonic matrix. Everyone I see on a daily basis is trapped by some demonic force. And the whole aim is to destroy me. Like, I'll be here, just sitting here alone in the woods with my eyes closed, in meditation. And when I finally get past all the spiritual warfare stuff, which is like interrupting voices, the thing from Smiling Friends that like screams in Charlie's face until he punches it, it's like, fucking stop. All like the typical like little demonic forces stuff that's always bothering me. When I get past that, I can see all the different relationships that I have, like all the different people that I've met in my life. And I can see how they're all eating at me. They're all angry, hateful, and jealous and older. Or people that are kind of my age and they still have all this hate projected towards me. And I'm like, I don't know how to get it. I haven't learned. It's been years. It's been 5 years. I can't figure out how to make it stop. So I try to make it work for me. I destroyed my reputation. I was hoping that God put me through all this stuff to change me. And I guess it did give me an unshakable sense of self-worth. Like, embedded in me is everything that I've gone through, which makes me much different than when I started. But I still feel these people. And then I'll feel that when I feel them a bit more, I'll see they're on my suggested friends. They're stalking my page. When I really feel them, they message me. Walls of hate, and I haven't spoken to them in months. Or they're posting on social media about me, they're talking shit on the internet. Or they're trying to kill me. And I don't do anything. Look at my life. I schizo rant at a camera to people that don't care about me. What do they have to be jealous of? I just heard my potential, and then I looked up from where it came from. Look at all these fucking birds. Rat! Look, he's like, what the fuck made that noise? What the fuck? So now they're gonna park their ass, because now they're territorial and they want to fight. They have to do a spiritual rape ritual now to eat me. They're going to sit there and it work spiritually to kill me. Which they've done every day for years now. But at least it gave me some type of endurance and knowledge of my ability to persevere, even if they've turned me into this. And now I can't remember what I was talking about because the crows just brought their pentagram. They show up and then they split off in 5 directions and they do a literal satanic ritual. Art imitates life. Those pentagrams and stuff have been coming from murders of crows for a long time. That's why you can find that sigil in Viking runes, because that's how they communicated with their god, through the crows. I don't know, I feel like right now is Skyrim but green. That's where we're at. I don't feel like there's any Cowboys and Indians energy anymore. I feel like it's all been phased out. Like, we're leaving the country. So things like Hardy is going to phase out. Morgan Wallen is not going to be as popular. And I hope Hosier makes a comeback. I know he's like, isn't he like 35 now? Why has the court system been keeping me for 3 years for bumping into somebody in the hallway, taking a piece of paper off the door, saying mean things to my mom on the internet, and then fighting my dad who was trying to kill me? And then violating an abuse prevention order that my mom has called prosecution and said she filed maliciously to live inside. How long have I been saying the word malicious, 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 malicious? And now talking about my narcissist, obese aunt that is eating until she dies. If she just stopped eating, she'd be fine, but she can't. So she's going to die from eating. And she's obsessed about... She yelled at me once because I drank a Gatorade, because she needs the electrolytes. Bitch, you need to stop fucking eating and get on the tread... I got her a treadmill, and I brought it to her house, and she called somebody to protect her from me. And I was like, I stayed with you for the whole weekend. You've never seen me violent in your life. I got you a treadmill. I'm working on saving the family because no one else is going to do it. But they only care about money. They hate my potential. My dad used to get really mad and anytime I had a win. And I have to think, I don't know what the courts want. They don't want me to go to jail. I've been to jail for 20 days now for missing court because I don't have phone service, or sometimes, a few times, my lawyers just don't text me anymore. And I have to think it's either Beau is Afraid level Truman Show stuff. I'm always doing well, man. Inside. But external stuff, like spiritual warfare, can get pretty bad. I had that dream. Okay. So, I had a dream this morning, and now I feel this huge pain right here constricting me, and I'm hearing, don't do it, don't say it, and it hurts. But I'm like, that's not a good way to get me to not say it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Well, I had a dream that my family members all failed. They were trying to hurt me, or they were trying to do their own thing, but it was based around me. And maybe it was my parents' energies or their karma, and they were splitting my archetype so I could get an objective view of who I was becoming and what was going to happen to those aspects of me. But I had a dream about people from my past again, when usually I'm going through and judging them. The only dreams I have involving other people are where extra-dimensional entities are showing me that they're not the people, they're pretending to be the people, and that I'm in a Truman Show and I need to wake up. Or I have dreams where people that made conscious decisions to hurt me in the past are finally being judged because they're ready to have their awakening. And when they have their awakening as an 1133, I'm the gateway as an 8th Sagittarius 8th house. It's really cool that my Jupiter's in Aries in the 12th house, which means that the top of my tree, the Aries, grows in isolation. And my full name means a tree exalted, which is really cool. But then the Kehasa Kathase Acacia means this tree that in the worst circumstances it always perseveres. So that's present. But the thing is, like, I usually have dreams where I get to be there during their awakening, where they're like, and then they see, and then I'm there, and they bring them in front of me, and I'm usually at a desk or on a throne, and they bring them into me where I'm at, and then they, which are alien entities, which I could draw, but they're like people, but instead of having this stagnant skin and this kind of grounded, earthy energy, they are more free in their ability to morph themselves. But they choose to look humanoid because that's how the sun shines, is in the Ankh, which is why we're bipedal. We're supposed to look like this because this is how the light is evolving the cells on the planet. If we keep growing, like if we were allowed to grow past 100 years and we didn't have this broken telomere where our bodies would just continuously grow, and we wouldn't ever need to produce another iteration of us to go through life, to like enhance our genetics through other trees of life, where if we never had to interweave those Celtic knots and continue our bloodline, if we just grew normally, I think we would all gravitate towards hair that looks like African people's hair, where it goes up like this and it goes just farther and farther up. I heard it's a test. I don't know what that means, but in this dream, it was just I had to file a restraining order against someone, because she kept just trying to hurt people. Her whole agenda was just destroy everything Casey loves, get in between all of his relationships, and she was trying to infect as many people as she could with her bad ideas, her bad paradigm, her like vicious narcissism was trying to impede on my life, and it was ruining everything. So I finally was like, it's time. I'm sorry, but I'm never going to see you again. You're gone. You're too far gone. You're too much of a vicious, malignant narcissist. You're so far from accountability. You've just completely fallen. You've fallen too far. And now the only way you're in my life now is to hurt me. But she was like, no, I can help. And I was like, I can see everything around you is not, your actions don't line up with your words. I can literally, I'm in the highest form of empath possible. I can see the things you can't see. So I just let her go, and then as soon as I let her go, and I was like, I decided I'm going to file the restraining order finally, and then I was immediately taken out of the building, which is inhabited by a bunch of cancers, and this person is a Cancer moon. So that Cancer energy, the 8th house, it's the very bottom of the mountain, was where I was at, the very bottom. And then I walked outside of the building and I looked up, and there was like 6 clouds, but I immediately could tell, like as soon as I looked, I'm like, those aren't real clouds. And then the clouds formed into spaceships like Rick and Morty and the thing from Roswell, like typical UFOs. But my brain was like, that's not alien at all. Those are way too rudimentary. Like, we really thought that those flying saucers were aliens. No, they were fucking like government stuff. That was Earth made. Aliens do not need that type of, they don't need to drive around in a rust bucket circle at all. They would never need to. So it was like, you win, ding, ding, ding. And then it revealed that they were US stuff. The clouds that we see are US spaceships. And it's like the secret space force. And that's why they're worried about money and all this garbage, is because they're trying to get this level of technology we'll never have access to. Like how we've had AI for like 30 years. They've been able, like, clones aren't clones. It's just man-made clips. Eventually it's clones. Like, they do have clones. They do have prosthetic masks and like voice changers. That's real. But yeah, pretty much anything in the human body you can synthesize, and they can do it. They could clone you. But I was talking more like they were able to AI actors in movies and have it be as good as Sora AI for a long time. It's just we didn't have access to that until now, because we're astrologically, they follow the astrological timeline. They're awarding us levels of the Aquarian age to transcend us out of Pisces, to kill our belief systems in the name of truth. They gave us a slow exit for some people. That's why we have the 3D, 5D split. Some people are going to be stuck in their belief systems, trapped in Pisces in the dark waters. And then there's some people that are going into inheriting the kingdom of heaven, where the truth and the highest vibrational frequencies of grace embeds our genetics, and we literally transition out of this realm into another one, and it splits. So at the other end of that realm, when I saw the US man-made ships and they were going to war against aliens, the aliens took me up to space. Like, they astral projected my consciousness through a vortex, and I saw what their ship looks like. And their ship is made of gold. It's got these big neon purple lights, and it's as intricate as it's way more intricate than a cell. It looks like a giant like chip that you'd put on a phone, but like way more advanced than the Death Star. Think of like a Roman Empire, the way they made their cities, and like the organization, but beauty of the architecture and everything. But instead of like Romans copying what they would see on mushrooms, learning from the mycelial network about growth and exerting your will on the environment and subliminal programming of the masses through phallic objects and shit like that, like the obelisks, whatever, Trump Tower and the Mecca, Black Cube. Instead of that, it was like just like a way more advanced form of like nature and technology harmonized into something way bigger than ourselves. I didn't get any vibe like they were from a different planet or they were from Earth in the past. I just saw their ship in relation to these ships. So those government ships at war could be like representative of like politicians and military and agendas, and then the aliens were showing there's so much more than that, and we stand no chance, and that's just, it would be redundant to even try. Um, and then I was taken from the ship. I didn't get to see any aliens, but I got to feel the energy looking at the ship. And then I was taken to my hometown, and my dad was there, and my dad was in his RV, and he had this big delivery. He was a butterfly on my right side here. For some reason, he had a big delivery, and he was supposed to take it from the top of this mountain where I'm from, our mountaintop, and he was supposed to bring it down into my hometown. And I don't know where he was going with it. He was supposed to bring it somewhere. It wasn't like he's supposed to deliver it to the people. You know what I'm saying? Is this an old white man? An old loser? Or just a loser? But I'm getting like really trapped in beliefs that were made by the Jesuit order to enslave white people who they breed like cattle. And they see them as just like they can rape them, they can steal as many kids as they want. They just kind of like let their inbred genetics believe that they were superior just because it was easier, because there was enough of them and they were easier to manipulate than the indigenous and the blacks. So they just like mass produced a bunch of inbred whites and brainwashed them for hundreds of years so that eventually they would just grow like a cancer, and eventually the whole thing is the Jewish people are just going to eat them because you're cattle for an ancient cult that's been around since Egypt. Real Egyptians, not these people pretending to be the ancient Egyptians, like the white pharaoh that has a thing that looks kind of like me actually. That's propaganda, whatever. It's all just trying to diminish the black spirit. But the real ancient Egypt are the Native Americans. You can look at the hieroglyphs and see that the culture that they were practicing is still the culture that's being practiced today. You just don't know about it because the algorithm won't show you it. But basically, my dad was on his way down to this thing. As he's driving, it's sort of like I accidentally influenced him in the wrong way, because these serious problems were happening where he's driving the RV, and then a bunch of drug addict white kid losers in like a beater, these teenagers on drugs, crackhead teenagers that have already destroyed their mind, but they still have that youth, so they're running around like vicious crackheads, but they're children. They cut off, so it's a 1-lane road, and then they cut off on the right side, and they're like, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. And my dad got mad. And I saw that he started to go live on YouTube like I go live on YouTube. And I was in the back like, you don't need to go live just because I go live. It's okay. But then behind him, someone like how Mr. Rob's vibe is, those types of people, like the guys that they sit in their truck or car with the steering wheel like this, and they wear the sunglasses. And they've completely lost their minds, and they're living in a society, like a realm of the way that they see the world is so wrong, and it's flawed, and it's based on this like darkness, and all they can really do is hate in the name of competence. It's like, you post anything online and then you get like hundreds of angry reacts and haha reacts from people that look like that type of profile, those guys. And they really are, they believe they're so smart, but you like look at the shit that they post and they can't recognize that politics is not real. It's made up. It's a show. Barron Trump, the last president, was Nikola Tesla's neighbor, the author of that book. It came out 100 years ago. It's not real. But what is real is Jews eating babies is real. Is real. That's real. And I saw it in the music industry when I was 18. But either way, that guy was behind my dad, bothering him like this guy tried to bother me. Just like bumping into the back of his RV. And I got a feel for his energy, and the guy was jealous. It was just jealousy coming from that guy. And I was like, why? Why are we getting attacked by envy right now? And my dad couldn't handle it. The same way, he was live on the internet and saying, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. By the time, I was like, look at the fucking road. Stop. So we had to get those guys away and get him downtown. And by the time we got to downtown in my other hometown at the bottom of the mountain, Yeah, the Rosicrucians or the Red Cross, ancient Egypt, Mesopotamia. I think they're called the Naga, the snake people that the Indians worship. They're all just alien races that interbred with humanity a long time ago, and the practices they used to do then, which is why the Aztecs used to kill so that they would create clouds, and the Jews used to kill to inherit youth and steal youth, and they would keep children as slaves beside them to continuously use their energy, and they were hoarding children in their thing like Michael Jackson. But Michael Jackson kind of did his own way of doing it. He didn't rape the kids, he took care of the kids and made them happy, but regardless, they were still spiritually bound and connected. Like you saw how much Macaulay Culkin loved Michael Jackson. That love is what Michael wanted, that purity. He wanted to cut out the entire world and live in that purity with the kids, but he was trying to do it in a healthy way. But he was still a G, he was still an occult scientist. But either way, those snake people, and I've met snake people that introduced me to different types of forest creatures and insectoids. And then when they did something to me in the dream, when I woke up, I could start to feel when the things were in real life. So they show me in the dream where I can see it, so I can get a feel for the energy, and then I can tell the energy later when it's around again. And it was just giving me strength and tools, because awareness is strength. Awareness is your biggest weapon, because we naturally have innocence, and innocence kind of blocks everything. It keeps us connected to the highest. That's why the path to enlightenment is the way of spiritual childhood. You know what I'm saying? Yeah! So, I just need more sunlight. I need to get out of this place. When we got to town, everyone had been consumed. Like, the people in my hometown, when we got there with this RV full of, like, God-given things, like, but it was the infinite channeled through us. So it was our own style. It was us. It was the thing that made us special, like the Ascended Master 1133, and my dad. Born in the 11th, and I'm a 33. My dad's born in the 10th, and he's a 3. I'm a Sagittarius Aquarius, which is really like way out there, overwhelming, on a mission, going through it. Taurus in the first house, Saturn in the first house, Taurus rising. I'm just churning through this battlefield with the infinite on my back, rebelling against everything that the world has. Literally just like taking in God's grace and just fighting and spreading like a wildfire, just dismantling the entire electromagnetic field of everywhere I go through like vicious karmic fight back. I decided to be in this battle. Look, I can just turn it off. You think it's psychosis because you're judgmental. I'm just a guy talking at a camera, man. When I turn the camera off, I'm watching YouTube, I'm hanging out, not really in psychosis, but my gift is I have things that you're not worthy of experiencing. Here's my squirrel. You know? Like 3 times in this video, I started to talk about Viking stuff, and then we had a horde of crows fly above when I'm talking about Odin and the crows bringing messages. Every single time I brought it there, we had a horde of crows fly right above my head and talk to the camera. If you look at Cooking with Casey and you look at my Hawaii video, you can see that my connection I've developed to nature works in a way that lets as I'm speaking and as I'm singing, the birds come in on time and they sing with me in those videos. But you have to live in flow, and you have to let go of control, which white people can't. It's very hard for them to do. To dismantle everything, like even if they can dismantle some of it, but then they wind up the sensitive hippies, and then the new generation is just nature won't accept them. Nature will not accept the younger generation. Hate to say it, but I was like the last generation. I graduated in 2018. Everyone below that can't. They're cut off. Gucci Gang, Lean, Aiden Ross, TikTok, Twitch. They're just not able to understand anything like what my childhood was like, walking through the mountains alone with a group of friends, just smoking cigarettes and going to a lake in a town where there's only like 1,000 people around. Going to McDonald's for us was like an hour and a half journey down and an hour and a half back just to get a McFlurry. So we'd spend like $40 on gas, $40 on Marlboro Blacks, and we get there and we'd only have enough to get like a soda or a Big Mac, or sometimes they wanted to try out the McGangbang that they saw on Facebook in 2010. Or like one of the guys saw it on MySpace. And then when we were 14 and they were 18 and they finally had cars, they got like this shitty beater SUV, and they took all of us down and we would chain smoke and listen to music driving through. Kids don't know what it's like now. The only people that know what that's like now are people on the res. Up in Saskatchewan, and it's just different. Everything's different there, but it's not psychosis. It's like really far ahead pattern recognition and actual, when you live isolated like this and you're brave enough and you just keep going. Or you could say the 1133, Casey O'Brien, Sagittarius, Aquarius, immortal and exalted. But I even like, how can you not dispute like Casey and OB help Loki defeat Casey, Kang the Conqueror, and he becomes a tree of life, which is what Casey means. And the only flag they ever fly in that show is in season 1, episode 2, I think, and they show the O'Brien flag right there. And then Call Me Carson goes by Gary, and he has a developer named Code Husky, whose name is Loki. His screen name is Gary. And then I had an ex-girlfriend whose name also means what Gary means, and she had a dog named Loki. And my dad's a Leo Libra moon, which is what I was about to get to, is that I'm a Sagittarius Aquarius. He's a Leo Libra, which is kind of grounded, balanced, and stable. But it's fire and air, which means like this overwhelming, passionate, but it's grounded Leo Libra. And I'm a Sagittarius Aquarius, which is fire and air, but that like way more expansive, overwhelming version of it. Just like my dad's born in the 10th, and he's a 3-life path, and I'm born in the 11th, 33-life path. My dad's name is Gary, which is the G-A-R-Y, but it looks like the yin-yang. G and Y. And then my name's Casey, which is the same thing, but just a little bit bigger with the S in the middle. And my dad's Leo Libra. That girl whose name means the same thing as my dad's name, Gary, and Call Me Carson, screen name Gary. My dad's a Leo Libra, and my ex-girlfriend's a Libra, but her brother's name was Leo. And when I met Leo for the first time, him and his best friend Vincent were in the basement of her house, and they were playing a game called A Way Out, where you play as the characters Leo and Vincent. And it's just, I could go for hours about how every single town I go to, every story that I lived in, every season of my show or episode of the series, it involved the same set of like 15 different names, just over and over and over again. And I noticed that exactly what I did in those seasons, having to extreme karmic circumstance took me from one place and placed me in another, and I had to fight to survive and grow until I had mastered that environment. And then Saturn destroyed it and took me to a new place, and then I had to grow again, and then they destroyed it, and then I had to move and then grow again, and then they destroyed it and I had to move. But the thing that stayed is the residual energy from all the relationships and everything that I taught those people as I moved through it. So Exalted, the version of me that is not in my body, was spreading the story of Casey, the legend of Casey. And then my dad was literally called Gary the Legend of Mount Snow. They called him the Legend. I don't know why. He doesn't really talk about his past. But they do call him the Legend. Maybe it's because he adventured, or he was so different, or I don't know. But they called him the Legend. And I realized that the acacia, the tree of life, the thing exalted, literally, if you look up the Freemasonic view of the world, it's the firmament, but then the acacia, the tree of life, is behind it, outside it. Literally, and Casey O'Brien means the tree of life exalted, free. And I'm a 33 life path, born in the 11th, which means I was probably like a Masonic king that died and chose to, and I incarnated at this time. All my dreams, I have to be in a throne. All my dreams, I'm in a throne, or I'm adventuring and killing things, like this dream, or I'm helping people. Like I'm in the backseat of my dad's RV trying to help him stay on the road so he can get where he needs to go. But he's being bothered by crackheads and incels with the stupid sunglasses. I hate it. I've been getting random calls where it's just people breathing. So we get to downtown, and I told you I had a lot of dreams where everyone in my hometown is possessed by the devil, or the mind flayer from Stranger Things. Some like invasive species has taken over everybody, and all my dreams are me like at the front lines trying to reason with them, and they're just like vicious monsters stuck in their ego, trapped, degenerated nothings, pathetic pieces of garbage, and all the things that made them great are gone. They're just gone. And that's reflected in my real life. Like every time I try to talk to them, it's the same shit. Just ego driven, sick. My hometown is full of sick people. And I really felt responsible for that, because they used to spray paint my green heart around town. When I went to college, when I survived the brain injury, when I graduated high school, people from my hometown would spray paint my green heart, because like everyone used to tell me, as soon as I get a song with over like 50K views, they'll tattoo the green heart themselves, and they'll get their friends to do it, and they'll all have my green heart tattoo when I blow up. So they would do that, and then when we had Planet Hank, which was the guy that got all the racist colonizers to start killing homeless people, and now he's the head of the Republican committee. The first time I ever met that guy, he spray painted his logo over all of my green hearts. And I was like, they put that there for me as like a thank you and a celebration, and like you don't see the symbolism in doing your shitty black and white Masonic coded logo over my green heart. You don't see that there's something wrong there. And then he blew up because he chased down a homeless guy named Brian and just attacked him with his cell phone, and a bunch of racist fat losers on the internet loved it. A bunch of fat white pieces of garbage loved that he chased down some random homeless dude. I was like, did you steal that bike? And the guy was like, no. I was like, I bet you did, because it's my bike. Turns out it wasn't his bike. He was fucking bullshitting for clicks. But that blew him up. He got like hundreds of thousands of views. After that, and he's a Capricorn, so obviously the dark Capricorn of his government is now destroying the town. It's one of the things destroying the town. But in the dream, we battering rammed through, and we got through, and we got into this war zone, this like zombie pit, and we were right outside this one place where we usually go a lot. Actually, the last time I went there, I got in a fight with a guy with the same name as my dad, which is pretty cool. So that was like a bad thing in my memory, and this dream just repaired that. It gave me a new instance of that place, which revived the narrative environment, which is okay. I can see how the aliens or spirit guides or whatever are supplanting memories in my subconscious to heal me spiritually, because that is what I'm asking for. So I could see how they were doing that. They put it in that specific spot because I had a traumatic moment there, and now I had a good moment. Instead of a moment being really traumatic living in my memories in the 5D, now there's this one, and this memory was that my dad fucking gave up. He's kind of like You know, he's a guy that he's really smart. I think he has degrees, or he's certified as an electrician. I know he went to college. He could just name like properties about like water pressure and like the ocean and different like facts about math. He was really good at it, and he's wicked smart. But this like my family has this thing where we're like, we don't have to apply ourselves because what the fuck is the point? And we hate everyone because they suck and they're retards. So we go like, we don't want to do it, and then our genius sort of becomes self-attacking. It comes at us, so then we end up having to fight ourselves off and to persevere past it. It sort of like grows and infects us, and I think that might be the devil, like the invasive spirit of like the Saturnian thing attacking us because we're not living righteously and persevering. We're sort of like, you know, I know we're blessed, but fuck it. So that's what you can see, kind of get that vibe from me sometimes. My dad's the same way, where we got to town and we had all this special stuff and we were going to save everybody, but then on the way, the people that the kids in the car bothered my dad, and that guy in the back with the sunglasses bothered him. When we got to town, we were like, these guys fucking suck. So my dad was like, fuck you guys, fuck this, I don't even give a fuck anymore, which is how he talks now. That's what he does. Like one time I went to work with him, I was like a carpenter's helper, and I watched him just go, I don't fucking care anymore. That's just what he does. He's like, I don't fucking care. Fuck it. Fuck you. Fuck this. So he was doing that, and he was walking in circles just going, fuck this. I looked around, and all the people that I used to love had been turned into these demonic forces. These like demonic, disgusting versions of themselves. These disgusting creatures crawling out of these small town streets behind buildings. It's like a small brick town. It's really small town, like 12,000 people there. And not like super small, like this town is 1,000, where I'm from had like 600, but it's like a small town relative to like probably where you live. Very small. But it does have like a string of brick buildings, like one long set of brick buildings and then two brick buildings like this, and they're really long and they have a bunch of different buildings in it. And then they have like courthouse and library and a couple churches and a bunch of Masonic stuff, Masonic lodges. And then we had just a couple, like 3 or 4 different residential sections, and that's the entire town. So I saw that they were all crawling out, and they didn't know what we had in, but they saw my energy and my light, and they wanted it. And I pulled out a hatchet, and the bear fur grew over me. Like I was wearing bear fur armor now, and I had nothing like other than that. I had like old clothes, like probably what Viking berserkers would wear, like they used to wear the bear. I had that, and I had a hatchet, and I just started killing them. Like it was waves of them, and I was protecting my dad and killing all the people I used to love that went down the wrong road. Let me get my axe actually. What the hell? What the hell are you on? What the hell, Gary? Yeah. I forgot where I got this, but I have it. And I was fucking burying it, and I was killing them, and then I turned around, and my ex was there, just staring at me like, and I smacked it right into her skull, and I smacked it right in, all the way in, brains gushing out, falling out, and she's trying to bite me. And then I heard this big bird call, this huge like, and then I zoomed in as like a falcon or something into her brain, and she was sitting in high school still. And I was like, what are you doing here? And then her lawyer was like, she committed these awful spiritual crimes against you, actually, which is funny that you're here. But he was just like trying to help her. He was like a spirit guide of hers, a spiritual public defender for the things that she did to me. and a couple other people. So she wasn't allowed to leave that space. She was trapped in high school. And I looked around and there was nobody else there. It was just her sitting there alone. And then when I looked in, I could get the residual energy the way that I could, like the Aquarius moon in me. The way in the Venus in Scorpio, the way it just sort of inherits the energy, and I can just see it like a huge wave of different scenes of a movie. I can just download it and unpack it. And whatever. Okay. And it was all the memories of her being the prettiest girl in school, because she was. Possibly even the best looking girl in the state. Possibly even the best looking girl in New England from what I've seen. Maybe, I don't like, better than any celebrity I've seen. Like way better looking than like Emma Stone, Anne Hathaway. Better looking than Sophie Rain, and Sophie Rain's like the biggest OnlyFans star. Like I got her a job at Price Chopper, and there would be a line, like there's like 10 old ladies and her at the registers, and there's like a horde of people, but nobody's going to the other registers because all the guys are lined up all the way into the aisle, and they're just standing there happy because they're gonna go talk to her, and they're all just hitting on her, and she's fucking 16 years old. I don't know who Mila Djokovic is, but she's better looking than Mila Kunis for real. Miley Cyrus. But now she's older and she has a kid. She cheated on me 1 week into the relationship, and I gave up. Even though she was like, you know, maybe I needed that because I thought because you were 19 and I was 18, I was still in high school. I liked the attention I was getting, and then the thought of like just jumping right from high school into being in a relationship, like I didn't like that, kind of scared her, so she ran off one night because she would just like look at me and make herself mad. Like it was like before I slept over at her house, everything I did made her like fall in love with me more. And then once I was there at her house, she got bored. She was in love with the chase. In the story, she was a delusional narcissist, trapped in heroin addiction to all the validation she was getting, because that triggers the same part of your brain as heroin. So she ran off once, and she said that Harry Potter Dementors literally sucked her life force out, and she had a panic attack she never recovered from. And I was like, duh. So that's why she was still there, because she did it to the guy after me and the guy after him. So, but at that time in high school, where the entire world wanted her, and she's a Leo rising, so she's the queen. She didn't want to leave that, but I was like, there's nobody here. So I said, if you're gonna be here, you should become a teacher. If you're gonna stick around. And then I said, don't fuck any kids. And then I zapped through a portal, and then I was back in my I did show her at one point. I tried to get her to see my childhood home. I really wanted her to see that, because I was trying to tell her that you grew up with a wealthy grandmother but an abusive siblings, but you didn't live out in the woods like I lived, and your family is from a city. I grew up completely alone with nobody, no abusive brothers and sisters, nobody. I was alone, and I was deep in the woods on a mountain by myself. And the only people I ever had around were like strange kids that also grew up in isolation, and we barely spoke. Whereas you were doing coke at 13 with all your friends at a party. So I was trying to like invite her into my world for just a second to walk through, so she could try to pick up, because she's got a lot of air sign. I think she's a Gemini, Leo rising. So she would have been able, just like the way I can pick up with the Aquarius, if she just saw the space, she'd be able to understand. But she wouldn't leave. She looked at it for a second, and I was like, it'll make you'll want to kill yourself. I used to try to kill myself a lot. trapped in her world. I was like, when you're in my world and you go back to yours, you'd kill yourself too. And then she left. I left her there, and I closed the vortex. And then the ice truck killer from Dexter. What the fuck? What was that noise? The ice truck killer from Dexter, when I'm talking about the Morrigan and these spirits, these god. Something really did in the video I posted earlier when I tried to tell you about this spirit that when I wake up I can see it and it attacks me. Like really just tries to absorb me and project itself over me. So I forget my own thoughts and my ability to exist. Sort of like taking everything and like trying to stop me. When I tried to mention it before, and I'm about to mention it now, when we heard whatever that noise was, it fucking, I've shown you guys numerous times, it takes a fucking rock and it pelts it as hard as it can at these corrugated metal. So I think it's like a sectoid, like an XCOM that can do the telekinesis. And I think it's just like over there manipulating my mind through another extra dimensional entity. And then it just picks something up and fucking whips it. I had a girlfriend at one point that was black, but I think she was also indigenous and black, like African and indigenous. And I did see her once. We were in her room, and hear the crow? We were in her room, and she was just saying, like, basically, I'm having a spiritual awakening. Oh no. And I was like, I didn't believe it back then. I was like, yeah, but you know, I wasn't gonna like talk about it. I wasn't gonna whatever. I still was trying to be a part of society. So I was still focused and looking away spiritually from it. Being like, okay, good for you. Whatever. But then there's no wind in the room, there's nothing, and she's like, I'm gonna make that lanyard move. Because I know how to do it. Like her Akashic records opened and her spirit guides came down, and I could see that it was like purple, the same purple and gold I'm talking about, which could be the Anunnaki. I don't know. But now that I'm kind of, but it was also 2020, and 2020's colors were purple, gold, and white. And then inside it, yeah. But either way, I can now recognize what I was seeing spiritually was the same type of energy. It was just a group of crows flying, but then instead of acknowledging it, I did the pause, so the high vibe, my giant self can push it, the thing that's bigger than me. Like obviously when I'm here and I'm like, my body's moving weird, it's because I'm not even here. I'm like floating behind myself. And I'm much bigger than this environment. I'm like the entire thing. But then I can feel when the crows come. So I left the pause so that the rest of what I'm assuming is me, or maybe my connection to nature, my higher self, blocked it. So the crow went, ah! And they all flew around this time instead of flying directly over like they did. But she fucking moved this lanyard. I saw it. There's no wind. There's no movement. She's just sitting there with her finger doing this. And there was a key hanging from off of her desk. And it fucking started to move back and forth with her finger. And then her mom started screaming and freaking out the way my dad used to when I would feel closer to my true self, where I feel like this overwhelming force of grace growing everywhere and saving everyone and healing everything. And then once everybody's fixed and I've completely taken control of the entire state and everybody's free, but they're in my world, then I just sort of enjoy myself exalted and building with my Legos like I used to. When I would get back to that, then huge pain right here, right now, in my sacral. When I would get, my creative thing is getting attacked right now. When maybe it's healing, I don't know, it hurts. It really hurts, actually. And then that was when the bird, right when it hit me, that bird caught over there. You heard it? I don't know what it was. Hold on. Her mom freaked out the way that my dad did, like just freak out, distracting, trying to absorb all the energy and take it from us, cause us stress, so that she could start to use her focus to gravitate all the energy out, and she was trying to just attack us spiritually. And I remember that viscerally, and then I never saw her ever spiritually get back. I think she said her mom started feeding, like her mom started buying like way too much junk food after that moment. So they only had ever had junk food in the house. They both got obese. The mom lost her mind and became like a pseudo politician, and now she's doing better, but before it was really bad. Just like full psychosis, which is what happens when the chosen ones invigorate. It's that the people that aren't chosen can't take it and they go fucking nuts. The way that I talk about that happened to her, and then she fucking went on vacation to Woof. She went to a different country to work on a farm, and she never made it to the farm before she was sex trafficked. And it wasn't like the cartels picked her up, it was like an organization, like a government was doing it. And she got sex trafficked and she escaped, and now I think she's just homeless somewhere. But I really saw her do telekinesis. And then I saw the spiritual attack that I experienced. So we do have these dormant abilities when we learn how to control more of the universe, but we're stuck under the government's heavy foot of Capricorn. The black sun, the black star, the pentagram of Baal is sort of putting this lower vibrational thing, pushing us down. But eventually, like, the aliens up there are going to do these beams with a trumpet sound, God, his angels, golden trumpet, and that frequency of the whatever they would call the trumpet, I don't know what it actually is. It could just be thought, or an idea, or a message, or just a direct energy weapon. The trumpet of God. You know, if you can't understand direct energy weapons 2,000 years ago when you're describing what you're seeing in a transcendental state, communicating with entities outside of time, how are they going to explain to you a direct energy weapon, and how are you going to explain it to people? Like, how are they going to explain it to you to prevent you from being able to recreate what they're showing you, so that you don't accidentally set off, like, you're not accidentally making this technology 2,000 years ago? You know what I'm saying? So they could just say it was a big brow of a trumpet, of a horn. But what it could be is like a lance of energy just coming in and stabbing the earth, and then the big boom of like a giant bell destroying all the Capricorn frequencies, and then them replacing it with their own resonant energy signature, I guess. Resonant harmony, harmonious, glorious, whatever. And I feel like we're going to be in a dome for some reason. I'm just getting huge dome stuff. And then we have the new Simpsons movie coming out too. When that's going to happen. I told you, I think, like, when I see purple and gold, I think 2028. When I see blue, deep, like gray, blue, and like bright blue teal skies, I think 2027. When I see dark green, deep green, fire, and deep grays, dark maroon, brown, dark brown, like leaving the country vibe into darkness for a year, that's 2026. You know what I'm saying? Brian's here, guys. What kind of last name is that? Are you guys white? Is that sunglasses in your profile picture? Check. You're from Europe. Czechoslovakia. When I was talking about 2026 and how that earlier in the video I talked about how 2026 is going to be full, it's going to be coded with like Czechoslovakian energy. It's going to be deep green, it's going to be tribal, it's going to have Viking coded in it. It's going to be dark green and gray. I've been saying that for years. And now we have Avengers Doomsday. And I said the aliens are going to come in 2028. It's going to be purple and gold. And they're going to be coming with like this way high level of technology. And now we have Secret Wars is the same color as I said it was going to be. And so did, I think, Bashar Darryl Anka. I think he's giving the same time frame I'm giving. And I'm just going off of what they're showing me in dreams. Like, I can't control that. I can't control that I'm having dreams that are lining up with people that channel aliens. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? How do I feel about racism? I think the majority of the world has been miseducated, so there's no possible way that any of you guys have a valid opinion. The only valid opinions you would ever have is stuff you're experiencing in real time, which couldn't be racism, because you don't know the whole race. You know what I'm saying? I think that all is mind, and I think that there's been a war against the human consciousness for a long time. So these predispositions and behaviors that people hate about other races is really at the fault of this ancient Saturnian government that worships the sign of Capricorn or the black cube of Mecca. The regular Christian cross folded up is a cube. Inside the Star of David is a 3D optical illusion of a cube. That Saturnian matrix has been farming babies for thousands of years and eating them in human sacrifices, and it's still here and it still controls the entire world. So I don't believe in racism. I believe that we're being with a boot over our head and being incapable of recognizing our true and fullest potential. And I think the only thing inside that are people that want to hurt others. Those are the real pieces of shit. And my least favorite race is white people. I think they're the worst. I don't care how much you think about progress and like, look at what society built. That's no, that doesn't give you an excuse to just admit that you're fucking inbred and fat and that you've been sucking off the satanic government and they give you benefits for it. You know what I'm saying? You hate black people that are on EBT, but like 100 years ago they were being systematically raped and they have no memory. Like their genetics just has no idea where they're from or where they're supposed to be. They can feel it and they can break through at certain times, but they're the most heavily attacked spiritually of all of us. So you have to believe that eventually they're gonna, like, we're all here to evolve each other. All of our DNA and everything inside of our bodies has grown from the ground. The DNA in us that makes up my body and this race and that race, the Chinese guy down the road at the Chinese restaurant and the black guy 100 miles away, at some point all of us were on the same ground and from the same molecules. It's literally just us, but the consciousness and the energies of the universe intertwined in the song that those cells went through and the life they experienced and how it was forged like a sword and evolved over time through however long humans have been here. That's the only separation. So if I'd have to say that the differences in the races is probably something as like as above so below, as within so without. The differences are astronomical, like literally like different galaxies levels of stuff, different star systems level of information. There's a difference that our genetics is actually different, like having native blood, having Irish blood, having those ancestors that went through those lives, and all the things that they were communicating with at the time. Look, there's a bird that just flew right above my head. And now it's just chilling up there, right where I was staring. There's a little bird up there for some reason now. Hello, bird. Goodbye, bird. All the things they were communicating with at the time. Here's another. It had a role in it because all is mind. Especially because we were in the age of Pisces. And the way the age of Pisces, that's why Jesus is depicted as the fish. When you have the Jesus sticker, the fish, and the Pope wears a fish head on his hat, that's the same god that Starbucks logo is, Dagon. It's the fish god of Pisces. And Jesus came at the age of Pisces to tell you, I will be back at the age of Aquarius, and that's why he's the water bringer. because Jesus came back in time from God, from heaven, when we've evolved to infinity, to the birth, to perfection, the singularity. But he came back to be among people, to tell us the way, in Pisces. So he showed us Pisces and taught us how, if we believe in him, but Pisces, if you believe the way the manifestation system, the big complex intelligence like a GBT or an AI that we're in, the intentions and the way that the metaphysical structure of that worked is that the more you believed in something, the more power it had. The remnant problem in this age of Pisces into Aquarius is that you have these genetics left over of people that built their empires off of belief systems, thinking that that's the way. And it's contrasting, it's grinding against the people that can just naturally see the truth. Because they're the chosen ones. They're the ones that deserve to know the truth. And then you have the people that are stuck in this war on belief systems. Which is why you have a lot of shitty white people that all they do is just debate. All day. All day they're just butting heads about belief systems. Attacking each other, calling each other names, because they're just using belief systems as a war. All that colonist shit on Facebook and social media and YouTube, all of that garbage is literally God just showing you how fucked up it is, and then watch it there. It's like how you have to pump yourself full of something you're addicted to get off it. So you're like, I don't want to do it anymore. Like, I puffed loons until I got Nick poisoning, and now I sit here and I'm like, I don't even want this anymore. He's meeting them where they're at, and he's giving them what they're asking for, which is Trump is king, blah, 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 you know? And it's both sides of the bird, right and left. It's all just bullshit. And they're going to let it fluff up until you get the biggest high of your life. And then it's going to dissolve and you'll be fucking normal again. So we have a lot of fat, inbred white pieces of shit just going at it on Facebook, attacking everybody, calling me names on here. Just the stupid garbage that's all about negativity and belief systems and this belief that they're superior, trying to attack your belief system so you believe your self-worth gets diminished, and all this bullshit that isn't real. It's just the remnant age of Pisces era that a lot of people have already moved past, and that's why Gen Z doesn't even use Facebook. Gen Z doesn't even use social media anymore. They just like text each other to hang out. Social media's over. The only people on social media are lonely people. Like, it's gone. The age of Aquarius is here. So all you're going to see is the dismantling of their belief systems. They're going to be fighting each other until they rile each other up, and then they go out with violence. I told you there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then over here there's like 5 or 6 squirrels that have moved in. So they're here all day. I'm full of squirrels now, and they're going nuts. And I love it. Here we go. And I really tried to be like that battering ram and trying to show people, like I would make jokes, and I just wanted to see what it was like. So in my hometown that I don't live in anymore, I really rampaged through it, and I fought back, and now I'm in with what I learned. Are you are you talking to me or are you talking to this person? All these I go into the groups and I fight back against the old colonizers, the inbred yokel honkies, and we go through spouts, and then they can't function because obviously the only reason they're there is because they're fucked up and they believe that they're not. They still believe they're superior, but can't recognize that their inbred genetics and their programming from the Satanist agenda has caused them to live in this state of dysfunctioning, but they're very good at getting up and going to work every day. But they live in this darkness and hatred. And God is trying to pluck them out of it. But the only way he's really figured it out is sending waves and waves of homelessness. You know what I'm saying? So they have to keep going. They're trying to fight. And eventually they're having these realizations. They're getting off the internet. I got one page taken down because I confronted this old guy with an American flag profile picture who was posting mug shots of homeless people and talking about like their crimes, and their crimes were like, this guy was arrested for disorderly conduct. And then it was like hundreds and hundreds of haha reacts, and the same inbred white yokel losers, fat, but think that they're better than other people for some reason, just talking shit about them. Before that, last winter, they were going out and killing them, where they were posting tent locations of homeless people, and these fat white inbred losers were going out and killing them, talking about how they put them in wood chippers and those homeless people are still missing, talking about how they would let their dog loose and they would just brag on Facebook because they're retards. They don't understand that there are 30,000 people in that group, and these fucking 40-year-old pieces of shit are in there going, yeah, I sicked my dog on him. And like, we can't see, like, we're not all there. So that was happening a lot, and I would post the evidence, and I would see so many people that were just trying to protect the culture, just deflecting and trying to defend them, and the only way they could was just talking shit about me. So I would post ugly pictures of myself with my crazy hair so that they had a thing to say. And then for the people that could see, I would also post in a way that if you weren't addicted to social media, taken down, degenerated and disintegrated your human spirit, and you're just a retard, not able to function. To people that weren't like that, that were just like, what is this? Like, they could see it, but they weren't brave enough to call it out, and they didn't really think about it that much. They would be able to click my Facebook, and to them, they would obviously see, I'm playing a role of a crackhead, so I can debate these people on the public Facebook pages, and this is my way of helping them without giving them the satisfaction. Like, I don't want to heal their problems, and I don't want to do anything for this state, because fuck them. I can't wait till they die. But this is my way because I have a need to heal them. I'm predisposed to, like, my Jupiter's in Aries in the 12th house. I'm a 33 life path. Sagittarius, Sun, Mercury, and Pluto in the 8th. Venus and Scorpio, Taurus rising. I have to, man. And look, I got through that, and now there's my favorite bird. It's a heron. What the fuck is a heron doing on a mountaintop, man? But I tell you guys that I see the heron when I get to this point. So I was just exposing their communities. And then eventually I got like hundreds of people across Vermont to start riding with me every day. We would just go on Facebook, and it would be like our pastime to just stunt on these fat old white people. And the biggest thing that got them, the biggest thing that would destroy them, would just say, why? With a question mark. They would talk some stupid shit. Just whatever they could form together into like a negative thing. And be like, yeah, this guy, yeah. And be like, why do you feel that way? And then they go, well, I have my beliefs and you have your own. And I was like, I knew you couldn't come up with anything. Come on. Just stop. And then now we finally, after that, so when I first started doing that, which would be like, we had a cop that molested a woman, and there's a guy that does a cop show, and he recorded a cop molesting a woman. And because she was homeless, everybody was really happy she got molested. So every day for months, I was tagging the police station, and I was tagging the group, and I was tagging everybody, and I was making posts every day saying, how come none of you care that this woman is molested? Just showing it, like, over and over again. This guy molested a woman, he beat her, he tried to break her nose, he tried to bust her skull afterwards, he dry humped her on camera, she had committed no crime, he just wanted to do it. And then you watch them manufacture a charge. In another town, a sergeant just attacked a random guy. He just got out of his car, chased a stranger down, threw him on the ground, tased him, tased him again, maced him for fun while he was cuffed. He hadn't resisted at all. He was just saying, "Stop, please don't. What are you doing?" And the cop just beat the fuck out of him, took his taser and beat his head in, beat his skull in. And the judge just let the case go. I posted that in the group and they removed me 6 times. About why are you letting him do this? Why are you guys letting your cops do this to people? And they can't come up with anything. So, but I did that in every single town across Vermont. I also walked through every town as the homeless guy. So we had tons of people talking like this, like these guys. And they would eventually rile each other up with rumors. So the same way they're talking here, they would talk amongst themselves in their houses with their uncles. And then telephone, they would go around talking shit. And then all of a sudden I'd have angry mobs there for things that didn't even happen. Or they just made it up, like the cop did. So I had people, you can just go back through my channel, man. I've been doing it for 2 years. Look, look. You want to see something crazy? I'll never hear from you again. I don't care. What up, Jace Prince? And like eventually if I do end up growing the channel from this, I can just pay someone to do that. I'll never hear from you ever. Now the universe said you're allowed to hit your vape, and I got my right to left noise from nature. You could literally see my whole body jolted because I was suggested from a higher entity. It's time. You can have your vape. It's okay. Because the sun had gone down, so the energy's lower. When the energy's higher, and I would have constricted that, and that's why I would feel anxious. But now that it's nighttime, I'm not getting a huge wave of anxiety because all the animals have toned it down. If I were to do this or smoke the tobacco with all the animals, you heard that one? When I looked and tried to connect to it, I went, stop! Because they're going to bed. I love this. People always thought something was wrong with me. But if you take someone who's supposed to be here and you lock him in a box, of course he's not going to function. I meant to run through the woods at full speed, you know? I love it, man. That was my best moments. That's how I got the best looking girls in my town. And granted, I didn't look like this. I had a 6-pack and big muscles, and my hair was cut here and spiked up. Not spiked up with gel, it would just naturally kind of floof back when I cared. Ginormous! Big booty Latinas. But not fat, in spirit. I would have dreams before I met them that they were these giant goddesses. And I was just like a little fish swimming. I wasn't a fish, I was just a little spirit swimming around. And then I'd meet the big goddess, and then it would tell me to go to the foot of the goddess, and then I would go in, and at the foot of that goddess was the girl's life. And I would be swimming through her family's house, and I was seeing all the relationships that she had, and then another being would come to me, and that it was like this sealed off dark water that this goddess was floating in, this giant golden, made of gold. And she was a Leo rising. So obviously, that golden statue energy. I'm sure she's in the 8th house, and that's why I was in the dark waters. Or maybe I was in the 8th house because my son's in the dark waters. So I met her when she was going through her 8th house journey or whatever. But then they took me outside of that, and they showed me this long corridor that gets smaller and smaller and smaller the longer you go back. And it was showing me the history of the universe. It was this long corridor. It was this museum. And I got to see all the creatures that came before humans. And then I woke up, and then a week later, that girl that I saw invited me to her house, just out of the blue. But I got all of those achievements because I treated life as if I was running through the forest on an adventure. When I tried to live like a normal person, I would hate it until I would try to kill myself. But when I would get up in the morning excited to go do this, excited to go do this, excited to go do this, and no one could tell me nothing. I was like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. And I would just start making jokes, having fun, self-amusement. And I learned some tools from autistic people that treat social skills like a science. So that allowed me to do my thing. Just trying to live the way I wanted to. But my Saturn's in Taurus, man. Every time I try now that we're past 2020, the spiritual awakening, the tests are getting heavier. Where I have like legitimate injuries now, and I've had to fight people to the death, pretty much. But then at the end of it, I get really cool stuff. Like this, or James Buchanan Barnes, Bucky Barnes, my Buckhead. That Ohana means family. That I fought that guy in the laundromat, and then someone gave me this thing that said this like laundry sign. It's really cool. And I also dreamed of this cabin years before I saw it. Cotton candy skies. So that's me, man. The thing is that I got one of those pages with 30,000 people that were lynch mobbing homeless people. I didn't get him to take it down, but he disabled the comments. He said, I'm no longer allowing these comments to be the way they are, because I exposed him. I said, just admit that you are posting these mugshots of members in your community at their worst moments and not talking about their charges at all. You're just posting them to be ridiculed with the blanket of keeping your community safe and keeping your neighbors informed. But all you're doing is just small town gossip bullshitting. What you're actually doing is a social media lynch mob. You are lynching people who are going through suffering and they need help, and you're making it worse by ostracizing them from the community, which in reality you think that's going to make them feel embarrassed and they're going to change. What it's doing is alienating them, forcing them to be more ostracized, forcing them to be more traumatized, and you're hoping that they lash out so that your faith in your police system, which is based off prejudice for corporate interest, and the Saturnian Capricorn Black Star, Black Rock government, you're hoping that they'll be raped by that. I'm Sigma. You're Sigmas. Thanks, man. They're not Sigmas. They're incels. They're actually the worst form of beta. They're so beta they think they're alpha, actually. For real. For real, they're like so far below, but they've placed themselves on the pedestal. Real alphas don't use Facebook. You know what I'm saying? 6'7". Suna's a bad bitch, but I think she's a fish woman. And I also think your age is also a fish woman. So it's pretty cool that we're talking about how ancient Africans are probably what's sitting in Atlantis. And that they are fish people. And that's why they used to, when you look at African tribes, they do that thing to their hair to make it look like fucking lobsters. I think they're fish people. I think Extra Emily is a mantis being. I think she's an insectoid. I think some Asian people are insectoids, and some ancient African things are fish people. I think Native Americans are probably bird people. If I had to give them one, I think they would be bird people. I think Jewish people are goblin vampires. I think that Vikings are, I think the original Vikings were like disgusting, decrepit cave people. But the Irish saved them. And that's why they're able to function. But if the Vikings had never met the Irish, I think that they would have been really fucked up. Like the only way the Vikings ever made it to the Americas was after the sex slavery thing, where they would steal women for their genetics and then breed them to produce better Vikings. If that wasn't the case, everybody would look like the English now, which are just so inbred they barely exist, and they live in a third world country now. You know what I'm saying? People like racism, this and blah, 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 racism. The only reason America's the strongest nation is just because we have the biggest diverse pool of genetics. Fuck you, Thomas. What do you look like? Wait. I like your profile picture. I don't know what it is, but it looks like the black couch meme, but with women. Oh. That's what I... Return to nobody's here. Poor me, they're all gone. So we're gonna end the live. How dare you, Thomas. 5832, that adds up to 5 is 10, 18, that's 9. Come on, there we go. Let's see if it's charged. Not charged, tuned. Out of tune. Why do white people think that they're the superior race? Because their genetics are so pure, when in reality inbreeding causes a lot of actual real deficiencies and cognitive decline. Maybe they were led to believe they were the best breed because they were being bred by Jewish slave masters that would feed their foreskin to Ellen DeGeneres on live TV. Let's keep that and clip it. You must clip it. Racism isn't real at all. It's a distraction to the realization that everyone was bred like slaves for 2,000 years. They've been in charge of sex trafficking way before the Vikings, and they've been eating white people for 2,000 years. The vampires and folklore that you'd hear about stealing kids and programming towns from afar were old Freemasons doing spell work and stealing kids for rape rituals. And Epstein's Island was a modern-day thing where they kept thralls, which are just servants of the vampires, feeding them their consciousness, breeding their children to harvest their innocence. And that's really all it is. There's 7 different colors on the rainbow, and 7 different continents, 7 races. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who gets first place, 'cause they all end up the same. The singularity's coming. It's a transcendental human thing, where they're gonna take us and put us in robots and keep us alive, funneling God for something that wants everything. And maybe I would be someone if I didn't waste my whole life lying down, freaking out about the things I can't figure out. I climbed up that mountain and I found out we got it all wrong. Good night, losers. Love you.